members. Without our members, there'd be no organization. So we remind folks that, no, you do not have to be a member to get the benefits, but if there's no members, there will be no organization. And this is a particularly trying time for us in the time of the pandemic. So please consider joining. Go to our website, gotha.org. And we also remind everyone that in the days of our in-person meetings, for over a decade, we had a continuous Maui Food Bank drive. Well, we can't ask you to donate virtually, so we ask you to please remember the Maui Food Bank and drop off at any of the drop-off locations, or send in a financial contribution. We know even before the pandemic, quite often greater than 10% of the keiki and the kupuna on this island would go to bed hungry in many evenings. So please remember the Maui Food Bank. Okay, so moving on to tonight, it's usually, the matter is usually just reduced to the one word, recycling, and we like to think of it as the 3 R's: to reduce, reuse, and recycle. First thing is to try and reduce, try and not get stuck with the plastic that there's no easy way to dispose of it environmentally. But if you can't, if you get stuck with it, then you try and find a way to refuse, let me get it out, reuse it or recycle. That's why they tell me to stop talking. Okay, so our first entity tonight is Pacific Biodiesel, and they're going to have a tag team presentation starting with Bob King. And Bob is a president and the founder of Pacific Biodiesel Technology. Briefly, Bob and Kelly King founded Pacific Biodiesel on Maui in 1995. With nearly 100 employees statewide, Pacific Biodiesel is Hawaii's only commercial producer of liquid biofuel. The company recycles used cooking oil from restaurants statewide and annually produces 5.5 million gallons of biodiesel at its Hawaii Island refinery. The Kings also farm sunflowers and other crops to produce culinary oils, biofuel, and other value-added products that support food security and energy security in Hawaii. I have to get better light in here. Okay, and partnering with Bob is Joy Calentro, the marketing director for Pacific Biodiesel Technologies, and Maiden Hawaii Naturals. With more than 30 years in corporate communications and brand strategies, Joy spearheads marketing for Pacific Biodiesel and its sister company, Maiden Hawaii Naturals. She develops strategies and storytelling that promote the benefits of clean local biofuel and that full circle sustainability focus on agriculture for food, then fuel. So I'm going to turn it over to Bob, and I will not interrupt their flow. When Bob is finished, he will just turn it off to Joy, and you won't hear me stumbling back on until they're concluded, and we're going on to the next presenter. Okay, Bob, take it away, please.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Aloha, everybody. Okay, I'm going to start a couple of slides here. Yeah, Bob King, president of Pacific Biodiesel, and yeah, happy to talk to everybody today about recycling. Recycling is where we started. We started this company to get rid of the problem, which was waste cooking oil going into the landfill. And this is our very first biodiesel plant in 1996 at the Maui County landfill. And this is maybe a year after the very first used cooking oil biodiesel plant was built in the world. There was one ahead of us in Austria. So early days of biodiesel. So we ended up, actually I didn't know, hey, that's right, I didn't have gray hair back then either. Good. And Kelly and I, we didn't know how early this was, but it was early. And so we ended up having the first biodiesel pump in America. We had a lot of celebrity friends that helped us and pushed us along, many Maui residents here. And yeah, it was about recycling used cooking oil and making energy out of it to run in diesel engines. 25 years later, we have a really state-of-the-art plant on the Big Island, which puts out 5.5 million gallons a year of biodiesel. And so if you want to equate that to electricity, that's the equivalent of about 220 megawatt hours of electricity per day. And a lot of that does go into making power at peak times for Hawaiian Electric, Hamakua Energy on the Big Island, as well as a lot of fleets. We are from Maui, but we built the plant on the Big Island. A lot of people over there really wanted us to build it there, and it was difficult on Maui at that time. So that's where we built it, and it's worked out really well. We've got some really good jobs for the people over there. They really appreciate it, and it's working out well. So biodiesel, again, we make it from predominantly waste oils right now, animal fat, and we use cooking oil. But we know we need to get into more of the virgin oils that I think Joey's going to talk about in a little bit. But you get about a gallon of biodiesel for a gallon of used cooking oil. So we've recycled almost 5 million gallons of used cooking oil on Maui so far. And we're still collecting used cooking oil on Maui, about 25,000 gallons a month that we pick up on Maui and send to the Big Island for processing. And by the way, we do all this on renewable energy. All of our trucks run on 100% biodiesel. Our plant on the Big Island runs on 100% biodiesel, including the power, the boiler. We really do walk the talk. And I forgot to start my times, so I don't know. I don't even know where I'm at here. So I'm probably going to use up Joy's time. Sorry. So where does it go? So when we make it on the Big Island, like I said, a lot of it goes to the utilities to make electricity. We run one of the largest, couple of the largest power plants that run on 100% biodiesel, Schofield Barracks on Oahu and Hamakua Energy. But here on Maui, we run Maui Disposal. They've been on it for a long time. Several of the boat companies, Trilogy, Aqua Ventures, some dive boats and boats, and then Maui Brewing runs their generators on biodiesel. So it feels good to have vehicles here and use on the island. We don't supply any of the Maui County vehicles. I think we did for 2 months 20 years ago. That was it. So where are we at today? We're producing a lot of biodiesel in the state, but in Maui County, like I said, we're still pulling used cooking oil and taking it to the Big Island, but we used to recycle, I think, almost 1 million gallons of grease trap waste every year. And we've discontinued that because we don't have a place to do that anymore with the eco not doing composting anymore. So we recycle grease trap waste on Oahu, almost all the grease trap waste on Oahu, significant amount of oil we pull out of that. And we recycle grease trap waste on the Big Island, but not on Maui. And that fuel, like we said, it goes into a lot of vehicles. City and County Honolulu's been on it for a long time, for a decade, but nothing for the County of Maui. Even though the County of Maui is suing the oil companies for the fossil fuel companies for their emissions, they're not using the fuel. That's disappointing. we'd like to see them change that. Um, it's one of the, I know EVs, we gotta get more EVs. I know that, and it's a big part of the answer. But let's not forget about biodiesel. Biodiesel's actually got a lower greenhouse gas, life cycle greenhouse gas component than EVs, if you consider how much it takes to make those batteries. And it's a spectacular fuel, and it runs in engines that we already have. All the vehicles I have, and everybody, the city and county of Honolulu, everybody runs vehicles on it without a problem. So it runs in all these vehicles. It's here now, and the money stays in Hawaii. So this is Hawaii's fuel for Hawaii's energy, and so I think it really is a feel good part of recycling, when you can make something that's so valuable as energy and use it right here and make it right here. We didn't have to buy it from someplace else. So, but we want to do more. We're not satisfied with where we're at. We got to take this up a couple of notches. I'm going to let Joy talk about the strategy that we're going to use to try to make that happen. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Bob. And these beautiful sunflowers, I'm sure all of you have seen, many of you have probably ventured into the field. This is how we get to the next, as Bob mentioned. You know, I like to say there's only so much French fry grease in the state. So we have to grow our fuel. That's the next. And getting into agriculture is how we can do that. It's not just having these beautiful flowers in the valley, they have a purpose. And what's exciting about the extension of our recycling story into agriculture is it's a really smart way to do that. We like to say it's farming for food, then fuel, because our approach is to create a food product. So here we are, the most isolated population of human beings on planet Earth. We have food security issues and energy security issues. So our agriculture, our sustainable agriculture, is first designed to create a food product, culinary oil. And you know, it's powerful that we're able to create a product that the used culinary oil, used cooking oil from restaurants, is how our company began 25 years ago. So the fact that we're able to farm and create a natural product for the restaurant community and consumers, now available to consumers, it becomes a food product that goes into the marketplace. And then we get the used cooking oil still from all those restaurants, and that's what we turn into our fuel. And it's not just human food. The process that we make our oils, there's a residual material, meal. After we crush the nuts and seeds to make the oil, the meal becomes a high protein ingredient for animal feed. So there's a multitude of benefits when we talk about how this original recycling story is really expanding out and making an impact for our community today. And that, you know, we saw last year certainly filled with so many negatives, but an incredible positive is finally this collective support for local. You know, we've had food security advocates talk about the need to make local products, to support local farmers, but last year really brought it to a head. The year 2020, we really got to see what a problem it had become. So Maui Hub, for example, so innovative. They were one of the first to bring our culinary oils on board. And just to sit back and see how quickly things were put into place, around food products, and people wanting to share their new experiences with supporting local farming, supporting local food production is very promising. We hope that continues. Our community needs that. So again, our recycling story is so exciting that is now expanded into the farming, food production, clean fuel, culture. You know, it's very important for us. Our farm team has learned how to farm by the Hawaiian moon calendar. It's how we plan our dates for planting and harvesting. We're very mindful of our inputs into the land. We know that everything, you know, you put into the land eventually makes it into the ocean. So we use no pesticides and no herbicides as we farm for these crops like sunflowers. And we're creating jobs. And, around all of that, there's an educational opportunity for our next generation of farmers and clean energy producers. So being able to tell this story, and thank you again to the Kihei Community Association for inviting us, because this is a story to tell that is very positive. It creates hope because it is happening. It's not some whiteboard and wouldn't it be great if. This is happening. And the more individuals that know about it, that can make a decision to run on clean energy or select local food products, including culinary oils, consumers can now participate in that full circle sustainability story. And how exciting to be able to know that if you're recycling your used cooking oil, 1 gallon of that, as Bob mentioned, 1 gallon of used cooking oil goes into the production of nearly 1 gallon of clean fuel, clean biodiesel that is part of Hawaii's 100% renewable future. So it's a great story. And those sunflowers, again, that's the story behind them that we want to get out. So thank you.
Mahalo, guys. I had a little tech there. It kept saying unmute, but it wouldn't, but it did. Thank you very much for that team presentation. I think that was very effective. I think probably most of us knew a little bit of that story, but I doubt that any of us knew all of it. So that was very enlightening. And to those that are participating, we're asking you to hold your questions till all the presenters go present first, and then we'll open up the questions to them. So we're going to move on to the second entity, which is Hawaii Materials Recycling. And we kind of hope that we can give more exposure to this entity, which is located right in central Kihei, but it's back up above the highway. And so you don't see the plant. And a lot of people are not familiar with it. But I was lucky enough pre-pandemic to get a personal tour and see how effective it was. And people still seem to have some misunderstanding. They think it's another landfill where all this stuff is being dumped. They had to close the one in Maui, so now it's being dumped up here. And the answer is no, it's being recycled here. A truck goes in with a load of product and comes out with a load of product. There's no residue there. So I want to briefly introduce Jenny Sullivan. And for Jenny, we have, she's with Hawaii Materials Recycling, located in central Kihei. HMR has been serving the island of Maui since 2018. In a short time, they have made a substantial impact by offering a cost-effective, environmentally responsible alternative to landfilling of inert construction and demolition materials. And I will remind consumers, it's not only for those guys with the great big trucks. Guys are going in there with pickup trucks, bringing in and taking out good stuff. So Jenny, if you would take it away, please.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. I want to make sure you can see my screen. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to speak this evening. As Mike announced, my name is Jenny Sullivan, and I'm with Hawaii Materials Recycling. Just want to make sure that you can see my video here. Okay, great. For those of you who are not familiar with Hawaii Materials Recycling, I'm happy to introduce to you who we are, what we do, and how we contribute to the sustainability of our island. As with any project and new endeavor, it takes a lot of time, resources, patience, and perseverance. This short video with Scott Meidel, Senior Vice President for Haleakala Ranch, nicely highlights our journey and our mission.
This is a culmination of a long and interesting
Jenny,
and very
we're
exciting.
not seeing the
And
video,
several years
Jenny.
ago, Pete approached the ranch with this idea.
We're not seeing the
And,
video,
you know,
Jenny.
we're in a position where we want to,
Okay, let's see why not. Let's try that again.
Looking good.
involve our lands in the highest and best uses that are consistent with our mission statement and our values of stewardship and protection of our historic legacy of trying to meet community needs. And when Pete proposed this idea, it sounded really good. And, you know, as is the case with a lot of things, the devil's in the details. And we found Pete to be extraordinarily thorough and precise in his proposal. And you know, we had a lot of conversations about this, and it didn't take long for me to realize that his values were very resonant with the ranches in terms of a commitment to land stewardship and just doing what's right and trying to address a regional community need, keeping stuff out of the landfill, getting as many trips off of the highway as possible, and turning debris into something good. And so, you know, what's not to love about that? And fortunately, we have the site to do that, and we found in Pete and his company a very capable and honorable partner, and we're extraordinarily thrilled to have this relationship with Hawaii Materials Recycling. And I can tell you that, you know, we've got a larger vision for this area. I think that there are other things that the community needs in terms of materials recycling, energy conversion, that we may be able to accommodate here in the years to come. So we feel that this was a great introduction to future efforts. And we look forward to working with Pete and his company in the future. This is just really exciting for us. What you see on the outside, I think, is a very, it's a significant indicator of what the company is like itself in terms of how it's managed. It's clean, it's orderly, it's on purpose, and it's on time. And so I think it's a fair representation of not only Pete's character, but the character of the company itself. You know, stewardship is a very important component, and I think implicit in that is a recognition that we're here just to take care of this land. We treat our ownership of this property as more of a responsibility to do what's right by the land and the people that inhabit it. And so, you know, we've been at this for 131 years, and I'm very proud to work for a company that emphasizes the need for stewardship. And I think that's a very apt expression and a characterization of what projects like this are. This is a culmination of,
as Scott mentioned, it is about stewardship. We are here to take care of the land. And with that, as a company, we do our part every day. Located in central Kihei, like Mike said and Scott said, just north of the police station on the mountainside of the highway, we are tucked away on 10 acres of land that we lease from Haleakala Ranch. That sign is one on the highway that you've probably seen driving by. We are happy to report that our scale house operates on 100% solar power, and we use R1 recycled water to maintain the facility. We are not a landfill, so we do not bury any material, and we are not a quarry, so we do not create a scar on the earth through blasting. We are truly a recycling facility. The source material that we accept is sorted and processed into aggregate material. Even the metal that is within the concrete that is brought in, we bring it to Hammerhead and recycle that as well. If you're anything like me 6 years ago, you might be wondering, what is she talking about? What is source material? Well, source material is commonly referred to as C&D, or construction and demolition material. And when we look at our waste streams, the number one volume in material is waste, is food waste. The number two is C&D material. The fact that HMR is here in central Kihei, offering an environmentally friendly solution to the C&D material that is being generated, is a huge win for all of us. As long as there is construction, a road that needs to be redone, or a building that needs sound or structure, or a homeowner that wants to put in a pool, we want to make sure there is an option for them to recycle their concrete, asphalt, or even the rock and dirt. As Scott mentioned earlier, we turn debris into something good. So you're probably wondering, how does this all work? Here is a video to give you an inside look at our facility. As you can see, it's quite the process. And we pride ourselves in offering this service to all people and businesses. Like Mike said, it doesn't have to be the big corporate companies or the big trucks that come in. No matter how big or small your job is, bring us your waste and we'll recycle it and produce recycled aggregate material. Many times, depending on your location, this is even possible for much less time and money. And we don't even charge you any extra for feeling good about doing the right thing and recycling. But sometimes recycling just isn't enough of a reason for companies to use us. So we've decided to entice people. As a fully permitted facility, we provide a safe and professional environment. We offer the lowest pricing, longer operating hours, and less wait time, especially compared to the landfill. We also provide a one-stop shop, ultimately reducing truck time on the road. And we do all this in a sustainable and an environmentally friendly way. All this effort has resulted in a substantial amount of recycling. And now that we've been open and operational for over 3 years, I'd like to give you an idea of the amount of source material that we are talking about and that we've actually received. Since April 2018, HMR has recycled over 500,000 tons. That's approximately 1 billion pounds of material consisting of concrete and asphalt that could have ended up in the landfill, taking up space that is already limited. Not only did we divert that material from the landfill, we also created aggregate material that was used instead of material from quarries, ultimately reducing the scar in the earth. So with all that great news, we wanted to thank all the companies throughout the island that made the choice to recycle and continue to make the choice every day to recycle and use our facility. Companies like landscapers and haulers, builders and homeowners alike. And lastly, we are truly grateful for the community support and we look forward to being here for many years to come. Thank you.
Wow, Jenny, that was excellent.
Thanks, Mike. You're my biggest fan, I tell you.
Well, it brought back memories. As I said, I was uninitiated like everybody else, but when I went with you and Pete and took the tour and seeing, that's exactly it. Nothing is left here. It's brought in and taken away. So hopefully, Jenny, this will enlighten a lot of the community. Again, I imagine a lot of the big guys know, but a lot of the smaller ones don't. Somebody that wants to build a rock wall, you don't have to go to the quarry. And I even know a few homeowners up in Maui Meadows that said they come down. I'm not quite sure what they were getting, but they said, "Oh no, I know what that is." So thank you very much, Jenny. That was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Mike.
So we're going to move on to our third and last private entity, a private company, before we hear from the county. And this is Kihei Compost. And the presenter is Lauren Peter. And Lauren's bio is, Lauren was solely raised by his mother, Emily Lauren. Lauren Peter has made Maui his home since he was 1 month old. He grew up in upcountry Maui, graduated at Seabury Hall, and earned his BA degree at USSC Santa Cruz, and later returned home to Maui, where he did landscaping, rock, and concrete work, and operated heavy equipment, in which he still does today, operating his excavation business. His passion and love for the environment is what guided his way to operating his green waste business, Kihei Compost, in which he started in March 2013. So Kihei Compost processes South Mary's green waste into organic compost, mulch, soil, and blends. Kihei Compost also supplies wood chips, kiawe chips, cocoa kura throughout Maui. All of these ground coverings help protect our island's fragile environment by controlling soil erosion, limiting stormwater runoff, and creating environmentally safe and friendly products that not only beautify our environment, but helps our plants and food thrive. So thank you very much, Lauren, for doing this. And we'll turn it over to you so you can talk about your business. Take it away, Lauren.
How's it going? Can everybody hear me? All right. My name's Lauren Peter. Kihei Compost is a deep passion that I've had for a long time. I have a partner, JB Guard, who's not with me tonight. I elected to speak. I know a little bit more of the ins and outs of the business. I'll start with just as a child being raised here up country, there was a lot of surrounding by agriculture. A lot of it was the monocrops with the sugar cane and Maui land and pine. But there also was the lovely diverse farms up country, you know, with the proteas and the carnations and the onions and cabbage and the various Christmas tree farms. And so my whole life I was kind of raised around the mountain and the ocean. And when I went away to college, I have a good friend, Clifton Dodge. He spent some time over there at the farm, learning ecology and soil building and amending at like a world-class level. I kind of recall some of the people that were on the farm up there with him at UC Santa Cruz were like delegates from other nations that were sending like their 2 top prospects to learn how to grow food for their whole country and stuff. So as far as biodiversity and sustainability, farm production, the ecology of the soil, keeping the pesticides out of the oceans, out of the land, fill off the land, out of the stormwater. It just seemed very important that somebody carry the torch with composting. on Maui. And it just so happens it happened to be us. We recall when we were younger going into Campaign Recycle Maui and visiting Charles and Ralph. We recall Tim Gunther, who was a good mentor of ours. We recall Ruben Fonseca at Eco Compost, another friend. And we watched them all kind of do their different products and squabble in different ways. And we just wanted to take this business sort of to the next level with passion, with protecting Maui, protecting the reefs, protecting the stormwater from reaching our reefs and our marine life. We wanted to build shelter belts. We wanted to build food forests. We want sustainability. We want to teach children how to farm their own food. Basically, our business is a grassroots operation with zero funding and zero help from anybody or any government entity. We've done it completely from our shoestrings. And at this point, we've got quite an arsenal of equipment, from McCluskey stackers, 80-foot telestackers, to McCluskey screeners, to trommels, vibratories, WA 500, 8-yard buckets, a series of 380s and Cat 950s, multiple excavators, tub grinders, horizontal grinders. We run at about $12,000 a month diesel bill. I'd love to see some energy conversion happen on the south side. I'd love to see solar grinders. I'd love to see the county stop sending the trucks full of stuff by all the facilities. I'd love to see the carbon footprint decrease, less traffic. There's a lot of what I'd like to see. So the only way that this can happen is through hard work, dedication, devotion to the people of Maui, the island of Maui. We definitely work the longest hours. We're open at 7, we close at 5 days a week. We process 30 tons of green waste a day. We get it from Lahaina, we get it from Kihei, even Kahului. People drive from Hana to obtain our compost. People drive from Kula, Lahaina. All sustainable farmers. Uncle George Kahumoku is a big advocate of our compost. We design soil blends depending on your soil base that you're starting with. We work with big construction companies such as HMR, taking their green waste off their development jobs and processing it into wood chips. We work with Goodfellow doing the bioretention basins in McKenna, which is basically like a giant sponge underground that absorbs 10 times its mass to keep stormwater out of the oceans. We've worked with just about everybody, Rojack, Goodfellow, Gomes, you name it, we've worked with them. We're sort of an underground company, but we're coming up really, really fast. With Eco closing down and what's happening at the Central Maui landfill, the land applying of the green waste, it's a crying shame, but I'm not really here to talk about the mishaps of the county. I think there's a lot of stuff in the current methodologies that need a lot of addressing, need to be reformed. Hopefully this type of meetings that we all are a part of can become part of the insightfulness and reform that everybody's looking for. All this recycling, it's sort of like a necessary evil. The sewage companies, the processing, the R1 that we all use. We want to work with companies to keep that R1 out of the oceans. We want to take that R1 and put it back up onto the mountains, onto Haleakala Ranch, who is also my landlord, Mr. Meidel. We run a 26-acre facility, pretty large. All the people that come to talk about energy conversion all end up at our front door talking to us about joining alliances with Kihei Compost. because of our feedstock of green waste and trees and wood chips, and our active permits, and our relationship with the community and Mr. Meidel and Haleakala Ranch. I'd like to see the county allow for energy conversion. I'd like to see some of those megawatts be converted in maybe some downdraft gasifiers in Kihei, or something of that sort, that then the Kihei sewer plant maybe can take some power from its next door neighbor. I'd like to see the biosolids handled locally instead of semi trucks full of sludge heading from Lahaina and Kihei into Kahului silently every day. There's a lot of things that I'd like to see, a lot of things that we're going to be a big part of in the future. We've got the equipment, we've got the energy, we've got the resources, and we're ready. We're ready for food production. Our main goal is compost for food production. Although the people do use it for the lawns, the hotels are a big client of ours. They use it for they bring us their green waste, their ornamental plants, and they take our compost, which is kind of nice because eco was sort of nutrient rich, in my opinion, with the sludge. A lot of the farmers used to use the eco, but in my opinion, it was full of heavy metals, pathogens, maybe viruses. You know, it had to go somewhere, but land applying it maybe wasn't the best situation. So I've always been an advocate of not using nutrient-rich pesticides or fertilizers anyway in the SMA, the special management area. So Kihei Compost offers a wide variety of products. They're organic, can be used, wood chips can be used for weed prevention, dust control, moisture retention, increased microbial activity. Our compost is very user-friendly, not too hot, ready to apply, not super nutrient rich, so it won't burn your plants and it won't harm the marine life if it ends up in the stormwater runoff and down into the ocean, as we've seen over and over and over with our big storms that end up causing some problems. I appreciate what everyone's doing with the recycling. I think it's great. I think it's great if everyone kind of comes together. I'd love to see Maui have a MRF. I'd love to see Maui create a centralized, I'd love to see the old HC&S mill become a MRF, indoor facility, already has an internal grinder. I'd love to see Maui take this to the next level and be an example for the state and for America and the rest of the world, for that matter. There's no reason that we can't live to a higher standard with our recycling and try to get to a zero waste and consciousness and energy conversion and food production. So we're sort of here to be a key component in green waste recycling and food production at this point. And we really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you, Kihei Community Association. That's about it.
Wow, Lauren. So yes, I mean, I see these three entities again doing different things, but I think the love of the island comes through from all of you beyond what your business is. Caring for the island. You're trying to run businesses that are doing more to help and very little to hurt. And of course, when we try to diversify our community, when we see three businesses like this that are doing so much for the community, I think that's very, very encouraging. I know it's encouraging to me and for our community association. And that's all we can do. We can just try and advocate and present things like this. So again, I'll try and stop babbling on, and now we're going to swing over to our final presenter, and this is from the government perspective. This is from the county, and we have our one returning guest from, as I said, a couple of years ago, Tamara Farnsworth. And Tamara is a recycling coordinator amongst many other things. She has served as the County of Maui Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division Manager and Recycling Coordinator for the past 3 years. Alongside other environmental programs, the division manages most of the zero waste and landfill diversion programs on all, all 3 islands of Maui County, including the Kihei Recycling Dropbox Center and annual recycling grants, which provides funding to up and coming zero waste projects, as well as well-established recycling programs that need a boost. They are responsible for the implementation and enforcement of legislation such as the plastic bag ban and plastic disposal foodware bans, and we see the council going further with that even this year. So Tamara, thank you very much for coming back to us tonight virtually, and please take it away.
Aloha mai kako. I just want to preface this with, there's a guy outside in the dark using his blower, so I hope that doesn't impede on this too much. So mahalo so much for having me come and speak to everybody today. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really happy to be on this panel with everybody here. I've worked in some capacity with everybody here, and they're all really great partners in recycling here on Maui. Today, I am here to talk about some of what we do here in Maui County. Let's see, am I sharing my screen? No, sorry, go back. I clicked on it a little bit too soon. Okay, we go try one more time. Here we go. Okay, my apologies, I had it all set up. Okay. All right. Not seeing it. Is this it? Okay, are you seeing it?
Yes, we
Okay,
got
great.
it.
Very wonderful. All right, here we go. So yes, I am with the County of Maui Environmental Protection and Sustainability Division. To ensure resilience for future generations, we shall guide efforts to optimize opportunities for environmental initiatives, natural resource protection, sustainability, conservation, and restoration. Today, I will speak a little bit about recycling on Maui and what we do, recycling right, reducing waste, and where do Maui County recyclables go? Spoiler alert, it's not to the landfill. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about our plastic ban, Plastic Free Maui County campaign. So you folks can recycle at the Kihei Recycling Dropbox Center on Welakahau near Pi'ilani Highway. You can find out more information about that if you don't know where it is, everybody, on our website, mauicounty.gov/recycle. When you go to our Dropbox, you can recycle a number of different things. It is very important these days to recycle only what we are collecting and only what's on the list. And that includes number 1 and 2 plastic bottles, cardboard, newspaper, aluminum cans and bimetal cans, and glass bottles and jars. We really need you all to stick with the list. Stick to the list, because if you're not sticking to the list, It means that, and you're putting stuff in our containers that you wish could be recycled, but isn't being recycled. That's called wish cycling. And it's very important to keep our loads very clean and uncontaminated. So we do really ask folks to recycle only what's acceptable and not wish cycle. If it gets into the bin and we're not recycling it, it won't be recycled, even if you wish it was. So we do ask you to recycle right and to reduce waste. And as Mike was saying before, we do adhere to the 3 R's. And there are 2 R's before recycling: reduce and reuse. And so we do ask, we are really looking towards reducing our waste as much as possible, because recycling has become much more difficult in the last few years. And so we want to make sure that we are focusing on reduction and reuse. One of the number one ways, or the number one way to reduce your waste really is to reduce your consumption, and to really think about what you are obtaining in your life, and thinking twice about what you're purchasing, if you really need it, how long that thing will last, if it's single use, if it's meant to be used many times over, what kind of packaging it comes in. Those sorts of things are all things that we really need to think about when we are determining what we want to buy. We want to ensure that we are choosing items with less and recyclable packaging. You want to think about maybe purchasing things that are gently used and giving items new life by shopping at thrift stores, or using Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. These are ways that you can absolutely reduce your waste. Also, refusing single-use items, really big deal these days. There are so many things going into the waste stream that are used even for a few minutes or even a few seconds and then discarded. And we're really looking forward to shifting our behaviors and our habits around using single-use items. And I'll talk a little bit that in a second. A really great way to refuse single-use items is to bring your own everything. You can bring bags, coffee mugs, utensil straws, and so many more things that you don't need to use brand new things, and you can reuse and bring your own of these types of items. But main thing, examining our habits and continuing to learn about how we can reduce our waste. What we do individually really does matter, and our individual actions all come together to create collective change. So it's really important these days, again, to recycle right. And like I said, recycling is getting harder. And, there have been a lot of rumors out there talking about, well, everything's, China's not taking anything anymore and everything's just being landfilled anyway. And I am here to tell you that is not the case. This county and your taxpayer dollars really we spend a lot of resources, time, effort, and energy on ensuring that we collect recyclables separately from anything going to the landfill, and that we do market them and make sure that they are going to reliable markets where they will be made into new products. We do get a report every month where all of our Dropbox recyclables are being sent. So I just wanted to give you an example of where some of the items that we recycle go. Cardboard is going to Shanghai, China, to Taiwan. Our newspaper is going again to China. Our plastic and our glass in the last shipments, or in the last, the places that they were marketed most recently are to Oakland, California. Our metals are going to Hammerhead, which then in turn sends them to other reliable markets. And then our aluminum is going to China. So China actually is taking a lot of the recycling. So what they're not taking are contaminated loads. What they are not doing is tolerating any very high levels of contamination. So it's really most important, especially now, to recycle right, put only the items that we ask for into the containers, and to reduce your waste as much as possible. One way that we are moving towards reducing waste in the County of Maui is with our upcoming disposable foodware plastic ban. And so we have entered into our plastic-free Maui County campaign at this time. This law that was passed in April 2020 becomes effective on January 1st, 2022. And the most important things about ordinance number 5084, if you want to know, are that plastic disposable foodware is not to be sold, used, or provided by any food provider, person, or business in Maui County, except by approved exemption. The main distinctions for this are that takeout food packaged after it has been ordered must be served in non-plastic containers and made out of alternative materials. And important to know that food that has been prepackaged in plastic containers is still going to be allowed. It is exempt from this law. So that means like your potato chip bag that comes from the mainland in your supermarket. It also means the plastic containers that are in a chiller or under a hot lamp, your musubi, your bentos, even the things that are at your deli, at your health food store where you used to be able to go to the salad bar. Now in the age of COVID, you're seeing a lot more prepackaged food. Of course, health and safety and hygiene are of utmost importance these days, but we do look forward to when we don't see as much plastic packaging for prepackaged food. Having said all that, I do really want to say that this law is really, really important. It's a big step in the way of reducing plastic. It is one of the most stringent laws that has been passed in the United States of America. And so we can be very proud that this little step is really going to make a big impact in terms of its effect. Another important thing is to know that utensils and straw are going to have to be made out of an alternative material, and they will have to be provided by request only, which means you'll have to request it or they'll have to ask you if you want it. Some studies have shown that this can reduce the use of those types of things up to 80% when they don't just automatically provide it to you. This is a perfect opportunity to bring your own utensil kit, bring your own straw, bring your own hashi. This is a perfect opportunity to really start practicing a new way for yourselves by bringing your own and reusing and reducing your waste and really choosing to not use those single-use items in the first place. Another really good part of this ordinance that is, well, it's an amendment to the ordinance that is currently being considered by County Council. Disposable foam coolers are no longer going to be allowed should this pass full council. It did already pass out of the CARE committee, which is chaired by Councilmember King, who represents the folks of Kihei, and will be going to council in the next few weeks for first and second reading, and we do expect it to pass. So that is another exciting part of this bill that, or this new ordinance that is kind of a step ahead of anywhere else. So if you would like to read the ordinance, the administrative rules, learn more about becoming plastic free, please go to our website at mauicounty.gov/plastic free. So again, please recycle right, reduce your waste, and move towards shifting your habits and becoming more plastic free in your life. I'd like to say mahalo nui loa to all of you. Thank you so much for the invitation and allowing me to share this information with you. I'm super happy to answer questions about anything that I've talked about. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our contact information is there at our recycle hotline, or you can go to our website, or you can send us an email. Thank you so much, and aloha.
Mahalo, Tama. That was an excellent wrap up for our audience that's watching, and we expect is lining up their questions, which should be popping up on the screen momentarily. And I can tell you personally that last item, those foam coolers, this is Mike's pet peeve, not KCA's, but that those chunks of what I call, most of us call them styrofoam, using that. And I have noticed, I'm not much of a big consumer. I try not to. I try to do that, to refuse and reduce. But so many of our appliances, the computer products, always came safely packaged in those huge boxes with these giant blocks of styrofoam to protect them. And then what can you do with them? Not much. I still have some hanging around. I'm still waiting for some way to be able to recycle them. And the foam coolers come right in with that. They're, that's the pet peeve that many of us that live here have, that the visitors come in and that's one of their stop-offs, is buy this foam cooler that they're going to take to the beach and overload it, and it'll break, and then they'll just leave it on the beach. And so kudos to trying to get that included in and get it under the wire. So that is one more item that is included in that law. Okay, so just a big thank you to everyone. And Andrew, who you don't see, but you see his name on the screen, he is trying to present the questions to us. And you can see the first question popping up there for Pacific Biodiesel. It came up, but it went off. So we'll see if it comes back up. Bob and Joy, get ready, because you looks like you guys are getting the first question as soon as we overcome the technology challenges. I think we each experienced a little bit of a technology issue tonight, so I think we can all commiserate with that.
So I can jump in on this if you want.
Sure, Bob. If you were a speed reader and saw what it said, go right ahead.
So the question was does biodiesel produce any pollution? It does a little bit, not very much. So the greenhouse gas part of it is reduced 85% compared to diesel fuel, and maybe more depending on how it's produced. The other emissions on the diesel engine are anywhere from 50 to 90% less with biodiesel. So it's a pretty clean fuel, very clean fuel. Really nice to use in a diesel engine. And then how much pollution compared to regular fossil diesel? That's what I was just saying. How much does biodiesel cost compared to regular fossil diesel fuel? I think currently our biodiesel is a little bit less expensive in Kahului than fossil diesel. And we also have a B20 blend, which is 20% biodiesel, 80% fossil diesel. Some people like that, fleets like that, and that's significantly less than fossil diesel today. So biodiesel stays about the same price a lot of the time, and fossil diesel goes up and down. So sometimes it changes, but currently we're less expensive than fossil diesel, and much better.
Thank you, Bob. Tamara, did you catch the question? I don't know if everybody else, mine just comes up for a few seconds and then it goes off.
Yes, I can see it in the chat box,
Okay, good.
but I haven't even had a chance to read it. Is there any way that there could be a couple event days where a county rep is there to educate people in regards to what they should and should not be placing in the containers? Every time I look in them, I see so much that shouldn't, and it makes me very sad. Me too. Also, what happens to those containers that have several things that do not have what is asked? Okay, could there be a couple of event days? Well, we actually just we just reviewed a grant proposal that actually proposes to do just that a couple times. We would love to be able to have the staffing to be out there all the time teaching people what to do. I will say that we are always looking to kind of figure out how we can improve our signage so that, and we're really actually about to do a whole Dropbox, what we're calling a Dropbox makeover, where we improve our signage, we change some of the stuff that's going on there. And so we hope to be able to provide an event or a couple events like that pretty soon. We also want to do some videos because we are going to be starting social media this year now that we have a new staff member. And so we're really hoping to drive people to our social media and have education available for people there. Yeah, so let's see what happens to those containers. So what happens when we haul the container to our MRF, which is a material recovery facility? It's basically a sorting center where the drop box, everything's entered out, it goes on a conveyor belt, and then it is hand sorted by a group of, I think, 6 to 8 people. And so everything that is not on the list is sorted out, and that stuff does need to be discarded and sent to the landfill. But those items that are recyclable, we do absolutely send to the different markets. So that's what happens. It gets sorted out by hand by a group of very hardworking people. Okay, I see 2 for me. So should I just keep going, Mike?
Sure, keep going. You're on a roll now.
For tomorrow, why did the green and blue recycle bins end up in landfill? Okay, so what I think this is referring to is the 3-can plan, which South Kihei and Maui Meadows had for a long pilot period. Unfortunately, the processing charges with the new contract more than quadrupled, increased like 6 times from one contract to the next. And we just weren't able to continue that program. We ended up without subsidizing it with general funds. And so we determined that it was just, unfortunately, we had to let that go. So those bins, you might see some of them being stored at the landfill. They are designated for different projects that are coming up. Not recycling projects, but most of those carts are going to be reused. We are also actually looking to see if we can grant a number of them to a potential grantee as well. So that's another, kind of way that we try to help support programs in the community. Yeah, so they're not being discarded at the landfill, they're being stored. I think that's the answer to that question. Okay.
And you've got one more right after that.
Are single-use water bottles not recyclables? Are plastic number 1 and 2 food containers, strawberry containers recyclable in plastic bins? Okay, so yes, single-use water bottles, for the most part, are recyclable. You can definitely take a look at the bottom of your container. I don't have one right here. I'd show it to you to see what kind of code is on the bottom. If it says number 1 or 2 and it's a bottle, it is recyclable. Just want to make sure that it's clean and empty when you put it into our Dropbox container. Number 1 and 2 food containers. At this time, they are not recyclable. A lot of those, it's too hard at this time because of the contamination issue and the really, really tight market that we have. It's not really possible to hand sort every single container, and some of the containers are recyclable and some of them are not. And even a lot of the ones that say number 1 on it aren't actually recyclable in our system. Like, for instance, the Apple plastic clamshell containers have a film on them or some kind of additive that isn't recyclable and would be considered contamination. And so with our system, we're not able to take those and have them recycled. And so yes, plastic number 1 and 2 bottles are what we collect in our system. And again, as recycling gets more challenging, this is the reason why we really want to kind of look back at the first R's, reducing and reusing, before we're even thinking about recycling anything. And that was me. That was it. So mahalo for your questions. I hope that I was able to answer them for you.
Thank you, Tamara. Yes, you knocked them down like bowling pins. You got a strike. Okay, the next one, I think it's TY, I think it means thank you, but then it's asking about community-wide composting in Kihei to reduce compost items going to landfill. Well, Lauren, that sounds like that's up your alley. I'm not sure if they were meaning that for you, but I think you would be the one that might want to address that.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I mean, it seems almost like it needs to be made a little easier for the homeowner, the individual homeowner. I know there are some smaller companies doing curbside, like they give you a bucket, then they take your food waste and then they bring you back compost. And I don't know the ins and outs of their businesses, but a couple people are trying to start up a pickup service, which is great. But as far as we're open to the community. If people don't want to drive to the landfill and want their stuff turned into beautiful organic compost and soil blends and compartmentalized and categorized into our different bays and piles for processing to make different products, we're open. We're open weekdays 7 to 5, Saturdays 7 to noon. Big, great long hours, easy access. And, you know, I mean, if people come up, there's no too much or too little amount that you could bring. We can't take food waste at this point. It's all the permitting. We know how to process food waste, and it would be a small footprint within our facility. We just haven't really gotten to that point. Unfortunately, it's on our radar, but we can take lemon peels and papaya rinds and anything that's, you know, we can't take meats essentially, but we can take rotten mangoes or mango peels and that sort of stuff. And every once in a while, I'll get a call from a tourist that's concerned or somebody from a hotel that's concerned that they'll say, hey, there's nowhere to take our food scraps. We're here for a week. We want to take our stuff, our coffee, our food scraps. We're organic eaters. We don't eat meat. We're vegetarian. And I talk to them and I explain to them a little bit about, you know, what we do and tell them basically if they throw it in their garbage bags, it's going to the landfill and it becomes landfill applied. And I tell them they're more than welcome to come up to our facility and throw it in our green waste. And, you know, as long as there aren't meats and certain things in it, as long as it's like plant-based, we can do it. But it's up to the individuals. It's up to the individuals to bring it on up, come on up and check out the facility and bring your garden waste and let us turn it into gold for you.
Thanks, Lauren. And I mean, they're saying community-wide. Well, of course, we're only addressing South Maui. And yes, if you're in South Maui, this is the spot for you. Lauren, you might repeat where you're located. You know, a lot of times people that have lived here for years and years, they just drive right by that entrance that a few of you guys share up there, and they say, oh yeah, that's the wastewater plant, and zip on by and don't even look at the signs. Granted, we don't want them not watching the road, but sometimes you could slow down and take a peek. But could you mention that to folks, somebody that's driving across Kihei, where you're located?
Yeah, I guess we're a well-kept secret. Even in the introduction, the picture wasn't me. I found the fountain of youth and grew a few inches and got younger using our organic compost for my food production. But basically, we're directly, how I tell people is we're mountainside of the Honopialani Highway between Lipoa and the police station, across the street from Hope Chapel. You turn a left, you come up along backside of Maui Nui Golf Course for all you golfers. And on the right, directly in front of HMR, is Kihei Compost Facility and Gate. So we share an entryway with HMR, with Maui Solar, with the County Parks and Recreation. If you turn to the right, you end up inside the wastewater treatment plant and into Goodfellows base yard. So we're all up there tucked off the highway between Pi'ilani and the police station on the mountainside.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, the next one, I don't know, that's actually a question. It's a comment. I think all condo associations should have bins for composting. Well, I guess there's a lot of things that people think should be. And for KCA, I would say, well, if you're living in a condo, you should talk to your association. You have a voice there and tell your board, why can't this be done? And if you have enough voices saying so, then you'll get it. I don't know that any of our guests can do anything about that, but certainly the members of the condo association can. Okay, so now the next one, question says probably for Lauren. Lauren, I won't read it because you can read it, so can everyone else. Do you see that next question for you? Can you create
some sort of shareable infographic that would include info for the average citizen to bring their plant-based waste? Yeah. If you go onto our website, it's a little old, but we're trying to update it through time when we're not fixing our wear parts on our grinders and screeners, welding tips and stuff on to eat the green waste and the hardwoods and the chiaves. But basically go to kiecompost.com on we have a Facebook page, we have a website you can go look up, and it says a little bit more about our facility. There's some neat drone footage that's old, but it's still, there's 2 different drone videos. If you go on YouTube, Kihei Compost on YouTube, it'll show some of the processing and the heavy equipment. And just come on up, just small people, like I said, come on up. I mean, bring your 5-gallon bucket of stuff, dump it out, and take a 5-gallon bucket of compost home with you. Or bring your 18-wheeler super dump and bring 15 tons and take out 15 cubic yards of stuff. We service the Maui Meadows, we service the South Maui, we service the little homeowners. We love them because they're fun to talk to and we like being a part of their life. But we also service Maui Disposal, Aloha Waste, and the big boys as well.
Thanks, Lauren. Okay, looks like the audience is running out of questions, and we're not going to keep you guys unnecessarily. We'll give them another moment to see if anybody pops up with a question. But if not, we again want to express our mahalo. I thought this was a wonderful presentation, and we remind the viewers that the whole presentation will be available on the KCA website. So if you want to tell your friends something about it, it's on there. And one thing, again, from my personal perspective, Tamara, I thought that was outstanding. You had that one slide which specifically said where some of those products are going to. I think that really helps with the misinformation. Oh, they just say it's going somewhere and you can never find out where. Well, here was detailed information where some of it was going. And yes, we know we can't. It's, it's always like for the thief and the lockmaker. You make a new lock, the thief finds a way to break that. So it's an ongoing process. but I think putting out factual information like that can certainly help. Okay, I don't see any more questions, so I think we can wrap it up. Those of you that
Thanks, everybody.
didn't have dinner yet, you can have dinner. And I can tell you, I have a 90-pound dog that if I don't feed him by 8 o'clock, he starts eating the furniture. So he's looking at me, we're ready to eat. So I think I better wrap it up. And again, say mahalo to all of you for presenting. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Good night.
Hello for
Thank you.
aloha.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Aloha, everyone.